Hey guys, so just basically thought I'd try to do some of these vlogs, as they put it, and just to see where I kind of put some stuff out, how I feel about things that pop in my head. Um, Hopefully I can get rid of all of the ums and ahs out of myself, but we'll see where that goes. So, um, I was thinking about this today, and I kind of, one thing that I've lost over time, and I'm not certain where I lost it at or how I lost it, was um, this sense of passion that I had when I was like about 18 or 19 years old. I can remember back in high school, I was, up in arms about like the war and into politics, and I'd read news articles all the time, and I always had an opinion about everything, and I was ready to just fight for my opinion. And over time, I kind of lost that, and I think the reason why is because one that I can probably assume is it seems like people are becoming more and more complacent and less willing to make a statement about how they feel about things. A actual statement. I'm not talking about like sharing a Facebook post or things like that. I'm talking about like actually getting engaged. People like it seems like people are willing to exchange their ideas over text, which I think is another issue, maybe, being that in this day and age, people are so anti sociable almost that the only extent of communication or debate or exchange of information they provide is via Facebook posts or text and things like that. And it really kind of, as far as like debating, because I'm a personal fan, I like to sit back and I like to be able to say, here's my opinion, here's how I feel about things, tell me how you feel, and let that bounce back and forth. And, if I can exchange an idea with you and you can exchange an idea with me, I may not change your mind, you may not change mine, or maybe you will. You never know. But to have that there and to have a friendly debate, not an argument, a friendly debate between two people, where you realize this isn't an attack on anything. This is just you telling me how you feel and me telling you how you feel, back and forth. Um, but I think with the modern age of social media, it's a bit more harder to get that exchange. You don't get that same, uh, I say a statement about how I feel about something, and then it triggers something in your brain, and you immediately bounce back and forth, and we go back and forth. It seems like that is becoming a increasingly less. Um, it's becoming less common, and it just kind of gets to the point where you don't for me I personally need somebody that I can banter with and bounce back and forth with on those things. And I guess one of the biggest things that's kind of gotten me to the point where I don't necessarily express my opinions or my views and stuff as much as I used to is because I don't have that person to push me towards that direction of wanting to think and evaluate my thoughts and think it from a different perspective. And it's really gotten to the point now that I know for myself that I have those thoughts inside of me. It's not like that part of me is gone. I don't, I still feel strongly about social issues, economic, political, anything like that. I really enjoy that sort of thing. But I don't get the sort of interaction that I need to make it come out, and which is probably one of the reasons why I'm trying to start one of blog things to get some thoughts and ideas out of my head. Yeah, it was always kind of a issue. I mainly, one of the biggest things I've tried to express, in my opinion, has always been, for instance, the necessity to move voting from the Democratic and Republican parties and concentrate more on third parties for elections. And the reason I say that is I've always kind of felt that we've had kind of a repetition or a sort of a similar history kind of repeating itself over and over again when it comes to the um, Democrats and Republicans. There's really not a whole lot that really changes when they're in office. Some things kind of come in, some things kind of come out, and maybe some laws get put in here and there, but it's really not a big change per se. And I feel that with these two big political parties, they have less of an interest in trying to do what is best for the American people and have more of a invested interest in taking care of the companies, especially the big companies. I mean, we're talking like, I've kind of noticed that like the Republicans are really big on oil companies and the Democrats are really big on banks. And it seems like they bail them out, they give them money. They're always looking to enact laws that benefit them over the people, over the common citizens of this country. And everybody kind of puts out this thing. I've heard this argument multiple times. They always say to me, "If you put your vote towards a third party, you're wasting your vote." And I've always found that to be offensive to me because I've always felt that a wasted vote, that to me it's more wasteful to vote towards somebody that I kind of like, but I really didn't support just because I didn't like the other nominee that they're going up against. I think that's more of a waste of a vote to me than, say, voting for the person I really wanted to get in and they still not win. I mean, especially if the person who I voted for that I didn't really want still lost. Like, I don't understand why that's not more of a waste of a vote because you're voting for a person you didn't really want and they didn't win, as opposed to voting for the person you did want and them not winning, if that makes any sense. And the whole wasted vote thing, I don't understand why people can't get this through to their heads. They always say, well, it's a waste of vote because nobody votes for them. But if you don't vote for them, then of course they're not going to get voted in. I mean, I don't understand how that's like the logic behind that. If I don't eat a sandwich, then I'm going to be hungry. No shit, So I mean, it's kind of the same logic. It's like, yeah, they're not going to be voted in because instead of saying I kind of like that guy, you go, oh, the vote's wasted, so I might as well not do it. And so, and if you look at, I mean, these third parties, I know a lot of, they're more grassroots from the ground up. They're more politically, they're not really affiliated with big companies and everything. They get the short end of the stick all the time. I mean, you take a look at these like political players. Ralph Nader, I think, would be the biggest one I can think off the top of my head during the 2000 elections, not even being allowed to go into the primary debates, and they get screwed over all the time. But they are, but they're the underdogs, the working class. They're the ones that really know kind of, and a lot of times if you look into this stuff, I mean, a lot of the people who don't vote at all, or they are, a lot of the people, friends of mine, you look around at them, a lot of them share a lot of those ideals. I mean, they share a lot of independent values and of the, whether it be Green, Libertarian, or the Independent Party, they share a lot of those values, more so than they do with the Democratic and Republican parties. But they choose to pick those two parties because they keep being repeatedly told, no, you can't throw that vote away. Don't even worry about it. They're not even worth your time. And it really just gets to the point where, these two parties have a stranglehold on everything, And we as the American people, we sit back, we keep letting him do and letting him do it. Instead of just saying, we're not going to do your bullshit anymore. We're going to go and we're going to put a vote towards somebody who actually represents us and will actually do what we want. And, of course, you never know. I mean, maybe at the point you get a person comes into office, they may even get a libertarian in or a green. I'm still registered libertarian, but stuff they've been doing here lately has really kind of been turning me off of that. So I don't really know what I'd consider myself politically. But they get in. They may be just as bad as the other parties, but it's one of those situations where you don't know because you've never voted them in, and it may get to the point where maybe they do start out well, but then they start to become corrupt, which they probably will. Everything corrupts. Everything. There's no doubt about it. Everything will corrupt, and everything eventually, especially if it's an ideology or something, it will always corrupt. So what you do, you wait, it gets corrupt again. You make the big choice. You say, we're not going to represent you anymore. You became too corrupt. We're moving on, and you keep doing that. You keep things fresh. I mean, these two parties, the Democrats and Republicans, have been doing this since Lincoln. They've been the two big parties for over 100 years, 150 almost. Actually, no, about 100. It's 150 years of this, and we don't see any issues to want to change that. So I say, as a person, put your vote out towards these third parties, because at this point, you're wasting your vote more by voting for people that don't give a shit about you, rather than voting for people who actually do understand and are coming from the same place that you are. So, if you get a chance, put yourself towards, this coming elections. Look at the ballots, really look at them. Look at what they say. Don't just do straight ticket voting. Don't just vote Democrat or Republican. If you really feel strongly about being a Democrat, or if you really feel strongly about being a Republican, then do it. But don't just do it because you feel like you have no other options, because you do. So